All right, so now playing with Puppet Warp. I have to anchor it at least to secure its head. And then I can use those anchors to move it in little ways. So I can move his foot, can move his body, can move his flippers. I'm going to kind of scrunch him up there. You see, kind of he's pulling everything in. It's like he's doing little crunches. And Puppet Warp makes that possible. So from there, it's hard because I want to zoom in, but I shouldn't in order to see it. From there to there, and maybe I want to move his head a little differently. That's going to make it look like he's kind of pulling up. But that's still too much movement, but the body position's better. Okay, so now he's kind of pulling up. Did I change the sky? Yes, I did. So I hold down Option, I go to the very top, I say Layer Merge Visible, I hit Command A, Command C, and then I paste it onto the stage at the top. And so far I have, about 10 layers or so, more than that maybe. Deselect, delete, set the stars, and play more with the character. So I want his head about there to reach about that far. I'm going to start moving him a little bit faster now that he's above the water. He's not so lazy when he's out of the water. And then Puppet Warp the body. Set the anchors. And basically bodies move like muscles move. They can either be tightened or they can be loosened. So I just tightened it, so now I want to kind of loosen it back. Okay, so it goes from this to this. All right, did the sky move? Yes, it did. So go to the top, hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible, Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it all, and then paste it in on top. Now I'll show you how to test animation kind of at the end of, or about halfway through class today. Just to get a sense of how you output it into animation, how you can play with the timing, all of that. But right now I'm still just building frames. And I'm going to try to get to this middle point of my storyboard before I test the animation. And that's always a moment of truth. Okay, so I have to change the sky, but you can see how disciplined this is, how organized it has to be. Where do I want his head to get to? Maybe about there. I like where the foot is then too. What would the head be doing? Let's have it reaching up even more. So you want clear movement, but you don't want uneven movement. So I'm trying to move him the same amount basically each time. And then the body. Don't forget you can just do regular scale and transform on the body too, but Puppet Warp will make it more believable in terms of shifting the weight, especially with his back flippers here. And it can be subtle. Does the sky change? Yes, it does. Go to the very top. Hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible. Select all, Command A, Command C to copy, Command V to paste in. Deselect, Command D, delete that merge layer. Set the stars. Back to my character. So just a lot of repetition. Play with the head. And now for the first time he's going behind that ice flow. Behind that attribute. Oops. I could detach his head from his body, have it float. Ooh, that'd be unexpected. Up into the sky. So many creative opportunities. But right now that should do it for me. Now what do I want to do with the body? Let's see. Was there. So I want to stretch it out with Puppet Warp. You can make the mistake with GIF animations of trying to go too smoothly, and that just takes you way too long. There are fine art animations, GIF animations online that are beautiful, that work just really smooth all the time. And I've done a few of those myself, and they're fun. But they are a labor of love that takes like a week to get right. So this is just trying to expose you to it, have some fun with it. You're not going to get super smooth results when we're trying to force it so quickly, but you'll know the basic techniques. Okay, that's what I want. So hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible, select all, copy, paste. Now before I knew that holding down the Option trick to merge visible, I had to flatten every layer and then go back in my history before I flattened it, which is always scary, right? This is a less scary way because at any point it can shut down or get saved and I still won't have lost my assets. But I am deleting the frames as I go. All right, move the sky. Now the character's starting to move behind. So I have to kind of ask, where do I want the head to get to? Maybe about there. How do I want the head to be positioned? Tilt it down a little bit more, like that. Now it looks like he's shuffling on. I'm going to puppet warp now. Let's see if that's too far. That's pretty far, but I want to get it over with. And at some point, if you're lifting onto something, you kind of make that shift in momentum. And so it can happen pretty quickly as long as I can sell it with the body. Now, this little puppet warp mesh, this is similar to 3D animation. And what happens when you build a 3D model like Digital 2 is doing with their characters right now, is it creates a polygon mesh that then, if you have it as an object file, you can build into a program as a sculptural file that has textures mapped to it that can then be manipulated like Puppet Warp. So that's a little too much of a stretch. So I'm going to try it again and not be quite so dramatic and maybe push him back just a little bit. So by having the stage and showing me always the last frame that I did, it keeps me from kind of losing context, knowing what's reasonable to get away with. Because these movements can be really subtle. Yeah, it's still a little much. Yep, that's getting better. Let's do something a little different with this foot. So if I do Edit Puppet Warp, anchor the body, I can just play with this foot. Kind of lift the chest a little. Okay. There we go. And does the sky change? Yes, it does. I always do that first thing. Go up to the top, Option, Layer, Merge Visible, Command A, Command C, Command V. And we are animating. We're getting it done. And this is why they cater, if you're an animator, they cater you in your seat. They bring you bagels and pizza. They never want you to leave because it's just endless. And it's hard to be interrupted because it's pretty technical. I forgot to do the sky. Let me do the sky. Good. And I know a few 3D animators that I've worked with. One works for Pixar, one works for Fox. And they actually operate a lot of times when they have something complicated like this, they're doing a character animation, they operate with a checklist. And you can kind of see why. They want to make sure they're controlling every variable. Drives me nuts. Some of you will like this so much that you will choose to do animation for your final project. Mm-hmm. So we are building basically a really detailed comic book between our keyframes. And the only thing you need to animate it is to program those eyeballs on the layers to turn on and off. And we use a tool in Photoshop called the timeline to do that. So once we have enough frames that we want to test our animation, because it doesn't actually really help us much, it just gives us confidence to see it done, then we can do that. All right, the head needs to come forward a little bit. He's definitely hunching up here. Good. Does the sky move? Yes, it does. All right. So I'm going to save it at this point. And then I'm going to hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible. I'm on the top layer. Oops. I did not do the right thing. So hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible. Command A, Command C, paste it in. Okay, now if I wanted to see how all that worked, let me go back to the stage and delete this layer. Save that. Save my stage. You always save before you test the animation. Now I can go to test my animation. I can go to Window, Timeline, and then I want to say Create Frame Animation. I'm going to move it down to the bottom here. And then in the window options, which are always in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to say Make Frames from Layers. Okay. So now all of our frames from the last one we did, I've done 15 different layers, counting the blank layer. Now it puts them in this timeline. I'm going to turn off the blank background layer. And I'm going to hold down Shift, select all frames, and then set a timing. And I like to use 0.3 seconds as my default, basically a third of a second. And now I want to set it to play through forever, not just once, not 3 times, but forever. So it will loop. And then I can hit play, and I'll see how it animates. And there he is.